Hi, this is Murray from Second Time Tech, and today it's going to be a bit of a continuation from my last video because I said that I was getting two air coolers, and so that's what this is. This is the two different air coolers. And I got the DeepCool Fryzen, which is specifically made for the TR4 socket, and I got the Noctua the 140 millimeter fan version. So it's a TR4-14-3. I'll have it in the show notes so that you can look at them. And so basically what I did was, on my last video, I figured out that the DeepCool Castle 240EX was better. So now I'm going to decide which of the two air coolers is better, and then depending on cost and what the temperatures are, I'll make my decision of which one I'm going to keep. So first, what we're going to do is just say that I just kept the system the same as last time. Defaults from the factory on the BIOS, except for putting it into XMP mode for the memory, which is 3200 megahertz. And then I tighten the timings a little bit, and it's 15, 17, 17, 17, 36. And the other thing was I made sure that the fans were on standard. So that's pretty much all that I did on there. So let's get into what the numbers were. So first of all, I ran DaVinci Resolve 16.1 and used the same video that was 18 minutes and 21 seconds long. And then these are the results. First, I did 3 runs of the rendering on it, and then I averaged them so that you could see what the numbers were. And then I ran it 6 times concurrently in a batch file and put the numbers on it. And then I let a 10-minute cooldown, figured out what the temperature was before and after. And then I ran my game, Civ 5, for approximately an hour, a little bit more actually, and then gave the temperature after approximately an hour of playing that on the CPU, just to see what it was like. So let's get at the numbers. First number will be for the CPU temperature. And I'm doing the Fryzen first. So it'll be, after the first run, 62.6 degrees for the CPU. The time that it took was 3 minutes and 31 seconds to render, and 49 degrees for the GPU. After the second run, so 63.6 degrees for the CPU, 3 minutes and 30 seconds for the render time, and 62 degrees for the GPU. After the third time, it was 63.5 degrees for the CPU. The render time was 3 minutes and 29 seconds, and the GPU temperature was 69 degrees. So I averaged the CPU temperature and the time for the render, and it was 63 degrees for the CPU temperature, and the render time was 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Now for the maximums, for the CPU was 70.8 degrees, and for the GPU it was 70 degrees. Now, when I ran it 6 times in the batch file, just before it was completed, I checked the temperature, and it was 64.4 degrees for the CPU. Maximum temperature for the CPU was 72.9 degrees. time for the renders was between 3 minutes and 30 seconds to 3 minutes and 33 seconds. So the average time figured out was 3 minutes and 30.5 seconds. And then the maximum GPU temperature was 79 degrees. So then I let it cool, 10 minutes of cooling time. It brought the temperature down to 28.3 degrees. And the temperature when it started was 28 degrees. So it basically brought it right back down to the original idle temp. So then I played Civ 5 for approximately an hour. And at the end of it, it was 45 degrees on the Fryzen. So there's all the numbers for the Fryzen. So now we'll look at the numbers for the Noctua. So on the Noctua, the CPU temperature after the first run, this is like the 3 runs, it was 59 degrees. The time was 3 minutes and 29 seconds, and the GPU temperature was 47 degrees. After the second run, it was 63 degrees on the CPU, 3 minutes and 30 seconds for the render time, and 61 degrees for the GPU. After the third time, it was 63.5 degrees for the CPU. The render time was 3 minutes and 29 seconds, and the GPU was 68 degrees. So then I averaged the CPU temperature and the render time, and it was 61.5 degrees for the CPU, and it was 3 minutes and 29.3 seconds for the render time. Now, the maximum temperature for the CPU was 71.6 degrees, and the maximum temperature on the GPU was 68 degrees. So then I ran the batch file with the 6 renders in a row, and the CPU temperature at the end was 64.9 degrees. The maximum CPU temperature was 72.8 degrees. The render times was between 3 minutes and 29 seconds to 3 minutes and 31 seconds. And then the average render time was 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And the GPU maximum temperature was 75 degrees. Now, then I let it cool down, and it did the 10-minute cool down, and at the end of it, it was 34.5 degrees. Now, when I started it, it was 26.8 degrees. So it didn't bring it all the way down. It was almost 8 degrees difference. So it couldn't get rid of its heat fast enough. So that's kind of strange. That's what happened. So then I played my Civ 5. I played it for a little better than an hour, and at the end of it, it was 49 degrees on the CPU. So some of the things were better for the Fryzen, some of them were better for the Noctua. So basically, the maximum temperature for the CPU was lower for the Fryzen when I did the 3 runs. The Noctua was better for the timings, but only by a little tiny bit. The same with the difference in the CPU temperature. It was only a tiny little bit, but one for each there. And then for the GPU temperature, it was quite a bit better for the Noctua, because it was 75 degrees and it was 79 for the Fryzen. So the Noctua did better on that one. but it was kind of swapping back and forth after I did the 6-time thing, the batch file. It was swapping back between the CPU and the CPU maximum temperature, and then, but the rendering was always a little tiny bit faster on the Noctua. But when it got time to get rid of the heat, for that 10-minute cooldown, the Fryzen did way better. So that was one big thing. And the other one was playing the game 49 degrees for the Noctua and 54 degrees for the Fryzen after 1 hour. So on that basis, I'm looking at cost because they're pretty close to the same that way. I mean, there are a couple outliers, but not too much. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the Fryzen, because the Fryzen would be about $28, somewhere around there, $28, $29 difference in the price. And then when I had picked the last one, it was the DeepCool Castle 240EX. It was $129.99 plus tax. And if you figure that one out, we're up very close to around $50 difference in the price. So I would say it's definitely better for me to keep the Fryzen. So that's what I'm going to do. And the Fryzen is in my system now because I had made that decision yesterday whenever I did all the testing. So that's what I'm running on right now. Well, that's pretty much what I have for today. And my next video should be on the cost of my system, because I say I'm still having a hard time. I still can't find those videos that and audio recordings that I did. So I'll do a cost analysis of what I paid for in Canadian dollars and in US dollars, because it's hard to because I got a bunch of deals. So I'll just say how much I got for each one type thing in each currency. But anyway, if you like the video, thumbs up. Don't like the video, thumbs down. I want to wish everybody a wonderful day. Thank you very much for watching and listening. Bye.